The Virginia Horse Industry Board, Southwest Virginia Agricultural Association, and the Virginia Christmas Tree Growers Association are proud sponsors of Virginia farming.
This program's brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Large or small, Virginia farmers work year-round to help put food on your table. And Farm Bureau works year-round to help farmers and all Virginians. Farming, it's all good. To learn more, go to vafarmbureau.org.
Brought to you by Farm Family, Life, Auto, Business, Farm. Steve Morse, fruit grower, distiller, entrepreneur. Another personal story on farmfamilypeople.com. Farm Family, the people you know. Hi everybody, welcome to Virginia Farming. I'm Amy Rocher. This week's show is dedicated to education. There are a lot of programs out there teaching kids about agriculture, nutrition, and health, and a lot of resources available to help teachers with lessons about Virginia's #1 industry. Karen Davis is the executive director of the Virginia Foundation for Agriculture in the Classroom, and she joins us on Ag Insights to talk about what Ag in the Class is doing here in Virginia. It's all coming up on this edition of Virginia Farming. The Virginia Poultry Federation recently showed support of Harrisonburg Stone Spring Elementary School through Virginia's Ag in the Class Adopt a School program. The donation ensures that teachers at the school will receive agriculture education resources and the opportunity to attend an Ag in the Class workshop at no cost. Virginia Poultry Federation President Hobie Bowen said they wanted to make the donation because they feel it's important for teachers to know more about agriculture so they can share that knowledge with our children. Bowen went on to say that so many young people are far removed from agriculture, and the Poultry Federation believes it should be part of their education because agriculture is so important to our everyday lives. Now, because of the donation, Stone Spring Elementary will receive an education kit that includes a copy of a dairy DVD and other materials, access to more than 150 lesson plans, information about upcoming Ag in the Class workshops, the latest Ag in the Class teacher newsletter, and a copy of Jumpstart Your Garden. It's a collection of lessons related to school gardens. Now, other schools across the state were also adopted by individuals as well as businesses. And to find out how you can participate in the Adopt a School program, you can visit agintheclass.org. Well, one shining example of agriculture education is Lauren Arbogast. Mrs. Arbogast is a teacher at Keister Elementary in Harrisonburg City Schools who uses agriculture components to teach other standards of learning. She's going above and beyond to teach her kids about the importance of agriculture. Lonnie Furbank has the story.
Some preschoolers believe that the milk they drink simply comes from the grocery store.
Here in Harrisonburg City, we are really just kind of footsteps removed from the farm, or one step away from the farm. We're surrounded by Rockingham County, which is a lot of it's a rural area, lots of farms. However, the children here in the city, a lot of them don't realize that.
So Mrs. Arbogast makes sure her class at Keister Elementary School takes the time to learn where their food really comes from.
So a few weeks ago, we had a local dairy farmer come in and just share with us about her life on a dairy farm and in contrast to life in the city. And then we were able to go out and see a cow, touch a cow. And for a lot of the kids, that was huge. Being able to see this thing that was high above them, and they were looking up, and we were explaining, there's the udder, and that's where the milk comes out. And the upper grades that joined us also were able to use some dairy economics lessons as pre and post work.
This activity was just one installment of Farm Friday.
Farm Friday lessons are something that I tie into our general preschool theme or curriculum, or a concept that we're teaching, a literacy concept or a math concept. For example, patterning, you can do patterning with an aspect of agriculture, like for example apples, and then you can do just a quick 2-minute lesson on an apple orchard and from seed to grocery store, and just to give the children background in how it really works.
But Friday isn't the only time these students learn about farming.
Daily we talk about what's on their cafeteria tray, their tray from the cafeteria, and where the different things come from. And so after about 2 weeks to a month of doing this, you see them start to stop and process. You get some interesting questions out of that. Once we figured out where milk come from, I had a child ask me if hamburger came out the same way too.
To expand these lessons beyond her own classroom, Mrs. Arbogast is working with an instructional coach to integrate lessons into curriculums for all grade levels.
There are demands on teachers today that just absolutely were never there before. And they have very strong curriculum and SOL guides that they're following, and they care about every child's emotional growth, and they want it to be fun. So there's a never-ending list for a teacher. And what we're trying to do is be able to supply them ways that, given all those things on their plate, that we can do an overlay that allows agriculture to be there too. Example would be in the 4th grade curriculum when they're teaching Virginia Studies, a piece of Virginia Studies are Virginia products. Perfect tie-in.
And last year, Mrs. Arbogast and Mrs. Studwell gave students at Keister a chance to experience farm life.
And then at the end of the year, we have a Farming in the City event, which our inaugural one was last year. And we had over 720 children here and about 1,000 people as far as, once we added in staff and volunteers and farmers. The children got to get hands-on and, get on a tractor and talk to local farmers and milk a fake cow and all these just different aspects of agriculture so that they could see just a little peek into the farm.
Through these activities, they hope to get students thinking about the career opportunities agriculture has to offer.
We're not setting up a career opportunity day, but what we are trying to make sure is that all our children can identify this, just like they say, oh, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a fireman, which children say all the time. We want them to add to their list, I want to be a farmer.
For Virginia Farming, I'm Lonnie Furbank.
Right, Lana, what color are you putting?
Thanks, Lonnie. Getting more locally grown foods to schools is the goal of the USDA's Farm to School program. The USDA's Bob Ellison has more.
American children are getting more of their food in school from local farms and gardens thanks to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Farm to School program. A new USDA survey shows that over 38,000 schools with 21 million students are serving over $350 million in healthy local food. With every local food purchase, more money goes directly back to farmers and ranchers and stays in local communities. Farm to School is one of many targeted investments USDA is making to help farmers, ranchers, and rural businesses take advantage of new market opportunities.
So it's not only an opportunity for youngsters to have that connection between their school and their farmers, but it's also an economic driver in the locality and the region. It makes it a little easier to buy fruits and vegetables, a little easier to buy dairy, and we're even seeing some of the protein sources, eggs and poultry and meat, being of interest to local school districts.
Northern New Mexico farmer Don Bustos is participating in the Farm to School program to get his produce to local schools.
We were able to get a high tunnel for season extension. That, along with the stuff that we've already been doing for several years, allowed us to increase the product to the Santa Fe school districts. So we're able to meet the full demand of the Santa Fe school district for salad greens in the middle of the winter.
In addition to getting food from local farms, many schools are also raising food in student gardens.
We would be able to give the kids some sampling, some choices. They would have awareness of it. And then they started a garden club in the summertime. So the kids come in and plant all the produce that's grown, because we have a lot of land that can be used for that. So we have big, high hopes for that, and maybe to do some outdoor classrooms, and so do more teaching with that.
USDA's Farm to School program is part of the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act that aims to put healthier food in school meals. In Washington for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I'm Bob Ellison.
Thanks, Bob. A lot of areas in Virginia also participate in Farm to School Week, including Rockingham County, where agriculture education made its way into school cafeterias and beyond.
Not a lot of kids know about where their food comes from.
And that's something Farm to School Week, held the second week of November, is trying to change. Gerald Lehman, Director of Food and Nutrition Services for Rockingham County Schools, sees Farm to School Week as a learning opportunity.
We have especially small children that come through our lines oftentimes and don't know what foods are, haven't ever seen them before, and don't know where they come from, and just have no clue about the whole concept of where food comes from. They think it comes from the grocery store, and that's really all they know. So I think for that reason, if none other, it's worth trying to really focus on where foods come from.
On Thursday of Farm to School Week, Lehman created a menu of local foods and even made personal deliveries to the 23 schools in his district to help make it happen.
So our turkey, for example, today at all 23 of our schools came from Hinton, from Virginia Poultry Growers Co-op, and so we were happy to partner with them on our local turkey. So we know for a fact where that came from. That's definitely all local. Our potatoes came from Clifford Roar out in the Dayton area with Valley Farming, and our broccoli came from Oak Grove Farms, and our of course roll we use kind of from commodity flour. That's just part of our USDA program, and then our apples from Showalter Orchards. So we have been using Showalter's orchard for apples for a long time, and many years. So that's one product that we really do use every year, all the time, as long as we can get it in season.
The menu wasn't the only different thing happening that day. A few members of the FFA chapter of J. Frank Hilliard Middle School in Broadway helped prepare lunch, held an ag trivia contest, and brought in some unique guests.
I guess this week is sort of like the biggest week because, you know, we just put out baby calves in front of the cafeteria. I mean, it's hard to miss that, so.
As president of her FFA chapter, Laura knows the importance of Farm to School Week.
They just think, oh, it's just food. It's not just food. You sort of have to tell them straight up, you know, a farmer grew this, and a farmer took their time to grow this for you to eat and me to eat. It's how people make a living and how it keeps the world running.
Virginia Ag in the Classroom is part of a nationwide effort to help teachers and students understand and appreciate agriculture, which is Virginia's and the nation's largest industry. Executive Director of Virginia's Ag in the Class, Karen Davis, joins us. That's coming up on Ag Insights. You've heard me speak of Ag in the Class many times. Today, the Executive Director of the Virginia Foundation for Agriculture in the Classroom, Karen Davis, joins us to give us some insight on what the organization is all about. Karen, welcome to Virginia Farming.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, I'm really excited you're here. I want to learn more about the organization because I think it's amazing. How long has Ag in the Class been around?
We've been around for about 25 years working with teachers throughout the state.
Okay. And you guys are a nonprofit, correct?
We are. We are the Virginia Foundation for Agriculture in the Classroom. The main responsibility of the foundation is to fund agriculture in the classroom. We are based at the Virginia Farm Bureau, and they help us out with some staff and some administrative things like IT support and accounting. And then we raise about $330,000 to $350,000 a year to support all the educational initiatives.
Wow. So let's talk about some of those initiatives. What exactly is the mission?
The mission is to help children and teachers across the state understand and appreciate agriculture. Today, as you well know, that most of the population is not involved in production agriculture. Less than 2% of the population is involved. So people have lost touch with where their food and fiber come from. So we want to bring agriculture back to those people.
So how are you doing that? I know you guys do some workshops, but give me some insight on how you go about training teachers and getting everybody involved.
We work with about 2,000 teachers across the state every year, and what we do is we go into their schools or we do regional workshops, and we also work with colleges and universities. We work regularly here with JMU, which are pre-service teachers, and we go in and we help them to understand agriculture in the state. It's still our #1 industry. We have a great tool called the Virginia Agriculture Map, which they can use in their classrooms. It shows the 5 regions, so it's SOL aligned, but it also has a number of all the products that we grow here in Virginia, from lettuce to dairy to poultry to corn to soybeans, peanuts, lots of different things. Virginia is a very diverse agricultural state. So that's one of the things that really opens teachers' eyes is how much we do produce here.
Do you get that from teachers? Do you get a lot of surprise and oh, I had no idea this came from Virginia, or we could grow this here?
Absolutely, absolutely. When we're working in the city of Richmond, when you're working in Northern Virginia, when you're working in Tidewater, a lot of times they have no idea that out here in the valley, we are one of the largest poultry producers in the country, and that we grow cotton and that we grow soybeans, and the variety of uses that soybeans have. We have a lot of fun with it. Teachers are very, very open to learning about agriculture, especially those who in the cities that don't have a lot of exposure to it. They always seem to be the most excited.
Right. And from what I've seen, the kids seem to be really excited too.
The kids have a great time. We don't work with them often because we are mostly working with their teachers, but we do get out to a few farm days and we do work sometimes in classrooms. The kids are great. They are so excited. We can show them animals, or they can touch cotton, or they can chaff wheat. They just love to be able to understand and to be part of what's going on.
Well, this year at the State Fair, there were so many hands-on activities, and we talked about that a little bit. We went through some of the things that the kids were doing, and they had that big Virginia map at the entranceway to one of the buildings.
Yep.
And I thought that was really neat. But when you go in and you see the kids, and Virginia Tech is usually there with their crop jars, and their little jars for the kids to fill up with soybeans and all different kinds of beans and crops. And they just love that. They get their hands in it.
We call that grain art. It's, you can do it with sand, but we do it with grains, so you can see the different textures and the different types of grains. For us, when we send it home with teachers, we tell them, have the kids do some sort of journal. Which ones do they think would germinate the fastest? Is the biggest one necessarily going to be the one that grows the tallest? So there's all sorts of educational things that you can tie to even those fun projects that are done at the State Fair.
Well, it just seems like you guys are doing so much work all over the state and really having an impact, which is such a good thing. Now, do you guys have a theme every year? Is there?
We do. This year our theme is Jumpstart Your Garden, or Jump Into Your Garden. And this is a curriculum that we wrote from a national grant, and we presented this at the National Agriculture in a Classroom program this year, and this has been a huge hit with teachers. We've had an opportunity to reach about 1,100 teachers so far this year. It's got great information in it that teachers across the elementary school grade levels can use, and teachers have just been loving it. It's one of the things that we can do that not only brings agriculture into their classrooms, but also helps them to incorporate some health and nutrition issues too.
Right, and that's something else that I noticed, that you guys don't just bring teachers in for training, you give them materials to help them. And a lot of it is the hands-on stuff. You said, there's recipes in one of this year's books and things like that to help kids understand how it actually gets from the farm to their table.
Absolutely. The Virginia map, the Virginia map that you referenced at the State Fair is the map that teachers receive a classroom set of, and it's laminated, and they can use that with their classes all through the year. The backside is a black line outline so that the kids can actually map in different commodities. So that is the most utilized and requested resource from us because it has connections to standards all across the board, and it just is a great tool for teachers to use whether they're in kindergarten or they're in 5th grade. So they receive a number of resources from us.
What's been your feedback from the teachers? Are they on board with this? Do you get any pushback, say we don't think this is really important, or?
We actually have great rapport with the teachers. Each one of our evaluations, each one of our workshops has an evaluation piece to it, and 99% of the teachers who have attended our workshops say that they would recommend it to a colleague, which is high praise. And we recently did one here in, believe it was up at JMU, where Tammy had a set agenda, but the students were so interested in learning more about the Virginia agriculture map, she actually spent the majority of her time doing that. And so we pretty much are flexible with our workshops, and we go with what people want to learn and what they want to do, and those students really help direct that.
Well, I know we talk on the show a lot about Ag Literacy Week. So I wanted you to share some information about that. Tell us when the next one is, and tell us what all goes on during this week.
We are so excited. This is our 4th Agricultural Literacy Week. We have in the past had about 1,800 volunteers from across the state read in classrooms, and we're hoping this year we can push that to 2,000. This is our book of the year, What's in the Garden, and it's the Virginia Agricultural Literacy Week will be from March 23rd to March 29th. But if you can't read during that week, we encourage you to read anytime. It's a great book. It has a riddle theme to it and also has some recipes, so you can do those in the classroom if the teacher allows. You can learn more about it on our website. It's www.aginaclass.org, and we'll have great opportunities there so you can get the book, you can get activities that you can bring into the classroom to read. It's a fun time. I usually wind up reading to about 6 or 7 classrooms that week, and the kids always have great questions.
I like reading too, and it is fun getting the kids' responses. They ask the greatest questions, and sometimes it throws me. I have to think a little bit before I can answer, because I certainly don't want to answer it wrong.
They always come up with a few that stump you. I think last year mine was how many acres of corn are grown in my county. And I was in a county that I was not from, didn't have that answer off the top of my head, so I had to go research it for them and send it back to their teacher.
A lot.
Yes, it was a lot. It was in the eastern part of the state, so it was. But
now, are there any other things that go on during that week in Ag Literacy Week other than people going out to read? What else goes on that week?
You know, some of the county farm bureaus have taken it to the next level. We've had people dressed up as soybeans. We've had FFA students going into classrooms to read, which has been great because kids love to hear from their older brothers or sisters or just the kids coming in. We have had cooperative extension going into schools and bringing in crops and animals. And so we've had a lot of people doing different things. The Virginia Department of Agriculture is a great supporter of the program, and they've done a great job. I know they've had their vets out in schools and bringing some of their tools and implements to show the kids, which they love to see the size of the needles that horses and cows get. That is always a thrill for the kids.
Right. And I think anytime they can see something that's new to them or something that they don't get to see every day, they might see something, you know, in Virginia we have a lot of rural areas, and even the kids get to see things afar in a field, but they don't get to always see things close up and have that experience to touch and feel, and I think that's just great.
Absolutely, absolutely. And while we are a very diverse state, the kids out in Lee County don't see cotton growing. And the kids that are in Tidewater may not see dairy and cattle. It's because we are a big state and because we have so much diversity and because we've got the sandy soils here and then we roll out into the Appalachian Plain and the hills out here in the valley, we are pretty diverse. So we have an opportunity to bring that back and forth across the state and bring cotton bolls out to Lee County and Russell County and those western counties. So it's a lot of fun when kids get to see it. And they are invariably, someone will cut their hand on it, invariably.
Of course, of course, that's how it always works. Now, you are the director of the Virginia Foundation of Agriculture for the Classroom. This is not Virginia alone. This is a national program, correct?
It is a national program. It was started in the 80s by Secretary of Agriculture John Block. He realized kids were getting further and further from farms and really didn't have an understanding of where their food and fiber was coming from. So he started the program. They grew up a little bit different in every state, but we are all connected through the National Agriculture and Classroom Consortium. We work together very closely with our partners in the southern region because we have like crops of corn, soybeans, cotton, but we also share our curriculum across the country. So the Jumpstart Your Garden curriculum that I showed you earlier was actually presented at the last national conference and is being utilized across the country.
Oh, that's great. So it's good to know that the work's not just happening here in the state, that children all over the United States are being educated. That's great. Karen, thank you so much for being here. And once again, your website, if people want to participate in Ag Literacy Week or volunteer of any kind, they can visit
www.aginaclass.org.
Okay. Thanks so much, Karen.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. That does it for our show. Thanks for watching and have a great week. I'm Amy Rocher for Virginia Farming.
This program's brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. From apples to zucchini, Virginia farmers work hard to put food on your table. And Farm Bureau works year-round to help farmers and all Virginians. Farming, it's all good. To learn more, go to vafarmbureau.org.
Brought to you by Farm Family, Life, Auto, Business, Farm. Jim Gray, farmer's son, agribusiness owner, insurance agent. Another personal story on farmfamilypeople.com. Farm Family, the people you know.